Hey everyone, Brandon here, and welcome back to Falconers. Now that we're basically back where I left off kind of last time during the recording. I don't remember the exact point, and I'm not going through the video to find it again. I looked from one coconut to the next, and to the next. This was a color problem. This was a bloody infestation. I felt tears stinging my eyes once more. They weren't tears of pain this time. Farland's concoction had seen to that. No, they were tears of frustration and something else. Fear. And there we go. There's the achievement that signifies that I beat basically what was in the tutorial. Ooh. New stuff. Oh, an actual beginning to the game stuff. That's awesome. Falconers order of You know what? I'd actually probably pay money to get that book. With all this information written in there, because this is actually... I would really enjoy something like that. Or an art book. Just make an art book of this. And I'm questioning myself if there's actually an art book yet. I'm going to check Steam on my phone. But yeah, as I mentioned to you guys last time, I really like the audio and the fact that they had all this stuff in it. Ooh. It was a slow and painful walk back to Moonlight. Sunlight met me in front of the hotel. She must have seen the stiffness in my gait, the pain lighting my face. What in God's name have you done to yourself, Cassie? What have I done? Not disappear like the others. That's what I've done. Her look of consternation said it all. I forced a smile in a futile attempt to ease her concern. It looks worse than it is. I certainly hope so, because you, my dear, look about ready to shuffle off this mortal coil. The game does not have an art book. Sadly. I want one, though. I want it to exist. With that, she ushered me inside, and said to tend to my injuries with cloth, water, and some ferocious whiskey. I like the old country voice beat for this, especially because it's like that kind of time period is what it's set in. Once the whiskey had done its fiery work, cleansing the wound of lurking infection, I swigged at it between jabs of Sunlight's needle and the pulls of her thread. The whiskey helped to dull the pain, but not the memory of what I'd seen and done in that forest. If you don't mind my say-so, this gash of yours is a strange one. How so? Well, if I'm not mistaken, it appears to be already partially healed. By the length of the cut, the way the flesh is torn, I'd expect to see your innards. Though through the haze of whiskey it struck me as curious that Sunlight should have such an intimate knowledge of lacerations. Did you train to be train as a nurse? A long time ago. Kept it quiet until MacFarlane. That is how you say his name, isn't it? Until the MacFarlane boys did themselves a mischief with their cross-cut saw. I don't even want to imagine what happened there. But can I just say, the way she says MacFarlane boys, all I can think of is, them Duke boys got in trouble again. How will they get out of this one? That's all I got stuck in my head from that. Dr. Harrison was out of town, so I had to stitch the lads up before they bled out. I've been tending to the community's cuts and bruises ever since. She gave me a conspiratorial wink. Just between you and me, I'm told I'm rather a gentle touch. I have rather a gentler touch than that old Dr. Harris, who I'm told can be less than tender, particularly with the women folk. Lucky for me. Indeed. And you haven't answered my question. Wasn't aware that you'd asked one. It was implied. How come I heal so fast? Sure, yeah. Sorry, ancient Falconer's secret. One that smells of elderberry and stains your tongue ever so slightly blue. You have sharp senses, Sunlight. Awareness is a gift not to be squandered, Cassie. I was beginning to think that I'd underestimated this Suncliff. While I drank and she sewed, I'd make the most of this awareness of hers. Ask her a thing or two about the good people of Moonlight. After all, one of them was a cedar. A skin bag of centipedes pretending to be human. What? Perhaps not even Sunlight herself thought it, though it seemed a little hard to believe, considering the current situation. Why would a color patch up a wounded falconer? I wouldn't make most of the weakened state to empty my guts out into the street, blaming on whatever accident had befallen me the night in the forest. Too many witnesses, perhaps? The street had been quiet, but not deserted. Cedar or not. It was time I knew what Mary Suncliff knew. Mind if I ask you a few questions while you work, Sunlight? On one condition. What's that? You tell me who or what did this to you. Beg your pardon, Sunlight, but what I tell you depends on what you tell me. Are you accusing me of somehow being implicated in this grievous assault you suffered? How do you know it was an assault? You don't slip and scratch yourself with a sharp twig, my dear. You didn't... Yeah. True enough. And don't take it personally. Right now, I'm accusing everyone. Well, at least you're indiscriminate. Right of the Falconers training, ma'am. In any case, what would you like to know? Oh. Maggie Matthews, that's Biddy, I want to say, right? Okay. I want to get to know more about Sunlight. What brought you to Moonlight, Miss Suncliff? Miss Suncliff? Am I on trial now, Miss Winters? Oh god, no, I'm not gonna assert my authority. My authority. Coax information out. Sorry, Sunlight. Apologize for being a little curt there. It's been a challenging day. I completely understand. She gave me a reassuring smile, clearly pleased with more diplomatic approach. What brought me here? Well, the weather, of course. I couldn't help but laugh. Sunlight had a way about her, a natural lightness and ease that was infectious. I came to Moonlight for pretty much the same reason as everyone else here. Gold? No, tragedy. Oh. It was 4 years ago. I was a young bride with a big, strong husband and a little boy toddling about. A pretty, picture-perfect pioneering family. I'd seen no sign of Sunlight's little boy and husband in Moonlight, so I braced myself for the worst. That's one of the sad parts about being a Falconer. You don't get to hear the happily ever after stories so much. What happened to them? The New Zealand death. They drowned? We were crossing a river near Fort Eden. There had been heavy rain the night before. We should have known better. The wagon overturned. Daniel, our boy, he was swept out of my arms. Andrew went after him. Always a strong swimmer was my husband. He reached Daniel, took him in his arms, and then the river carried them both away. You never saw them again? Oh no, I saw them. A couple miles downstream once the waters receded. Buried them myself on that riverbank. I'm sorry. Thank you. I still miss them all the time. But each day the feeling grows a little bit less. I'm worried that one day it might go away altogether. Time does that. I'm afraid it's natural. Yeah, I suppose you're right. So you came to Moonlight after that? I heard that Moonlight Hotel was up for sale. Andrew had left me some money in the bank in Fort Eden. It was left over from the sale of his father's farm in Somerset. We were planning to use it to start our own farm down in the Southland. Raise sheep, perhaps some more children. To be honest, I never liked sheep, so I decided to buy this place instead. My father owned a pub in Bristol. I was his best barmaid. It's how I met Andrew. So I guess when the life you planned gets washed away, you'll fall back on the life you know. Oh, I feel bad. Well, I don't think, like, a bug would actually... I call him a bug. The color would actually care so much about, monetary gain. So I'm still not entirely certain it's Weka. Also the fact that you actually got to see Weka and he didn't grab her, So, Maggie Matthews sure does drink a lot, though. I'm fairly certain. Maggie, did you know her? Oh, no, Maggie was the girl who was killed. Oh. Sunlight let out a deep sigh. There was pity in it, and healthy salting of guilt. I did, yes. When did she first start seeing Weremu? Because that's the only name I can think of how you say that. So, Weremu? Yeah, Weremu. Weremu. I'm, like, it's a slight different in between the ways I'm saying it right there, and I It bothers me thinking about it. Not long after he arrived in town, Maggie was one to pay close attention to new arrivals, particularly the man. She was looking for a husband? You and I, Cassie, were a rare breed of women. You were married once? Yes, I already know this. That was then, this is now. Okay. I don't know how to feel about that, honestly. That's one of those things that's like, technically I just talked to her about that. It bothers me that it's not the writer's fault. The story's great. It's just, to me, weird that she would be like, you were married once? Yeah, I just heard about how you're bringing up how you just heard the story of, yep, my kid and husband died. And you, Cassie, ever been down that aisle? No. Married the job, did you? You're not evading the question now, are you? Not half as much as you are. She looked at me solemnly for a long moment, wrestling with something inside. It seems that guilt won the contest. I feel that I'm partially to blame. For what? Maggie, how she died. She would have been out there that day if it was not for me. How so? I tried to help the poor girl. Her father, well, he's, well, bastard. Doesn't quite suffice. But it's close enough. She wanted nothing more to be rid of, to ride off into the sunset with a knight in shining armor. I can't help but raise an eyebrow at that. Where, Moo? A knight in shining armor? Maggie thought so. I gave her some advice. How to speak to a man, how to listen, how to get his attention. She was a good student. If I hadn't helped, she would never have been able to talk Weka into taking her to Giggling Glade. Perhaps she'd be alive. I'd noted it the first time it was again. Sunlight's assumption that Maggie was dead. I'd not told her that. I'd not told anyone. It was a natural enough assumption, but perhaps it was more than that. Nothing I could draw my gun on yet. Something to remember. I'm sorry, Sunlight, but I'm not in the business of... Oh, God. Assuaging guilt. That's it. I can only promise you justice. I suppose that'll have to do. One second, I actually have some tea with me. I got one of those things to actually steep tea, so... I also picked up like 12 different types of tea in one package, so I'm kind of happy about that. Right now I'm trying gunpowder green tea, which, of course, one of the things you get out of loose leaf tea is that you get more of a like dirty taste, which is normal because I've had loose leaf tea before. And yeah, it's weird. It leaves a weird taste in your mouth the first time you drink it, but then after that it kind of goes away a bit. It also probably goes away if you actually rinse the leaves before you just start cooking the tea, kind of thing. So yeah, it's weird, but you know what? I actually like it. I like it a lot in that respect because I'm weird like that. So anyways, let's get back to the game. Let's ask your impressions of the town. Do you like it here? Yes and no. Which came first? This was a beautiful place when I first arrived. Not so many people, not so many houses. No big dirt hole in that ground. Of course, it wasn't even called Moonlight then. Oh, what was it? Blackball. Let me guess, Biddy's name for the place? That's right. She has an earthly sense of humor. An earthy sense of humor, does our Biddy. She has an earthy sense of humor, does our Biddy. Okay. Whatever. I'll take it. Okay. Oh crap, history. That should... There we go. After he bought the place from Biddy, Georgia figured it needed a better name. His name? What do you make of that? It seems to be the prerogative of men like George Moonlight to shape the landscape in their own image. Attitudes like Sunlight's were pretty rare among New Zealand's settlers, at least as far as I'd seen. Most simply concerned themselves with foraging a living out of the land the only way they knew how. Hunting, fishing, sawmilling, farming, and mining. This was the land of plenty. There for the taking. You had three choices as a colonial. Make the most of it, go home, die. Yet colors were part of the landscape, growing out of very wilderness, and they didn't take kindly to us human beings helping ourselves to their native bounty. Fair enough in some ways, but we have to live somewhere, and they've plenty of land to spare. Sunlight's viewpoint tend to tally more with the colors perspective rather than the colonial, and I wasn't sure whether I should gently challenge her on that and risk her clamping up on me, or whether to let the matter rest. Now that is a very good question, because it's tough to just be like, yeah, I'm just totally gonna do this, and just be like, look, I like Sunlight. She's a nice person so far. I'm gonna let the matter rest, so I'm afraid my occupation is at odds with that sort of conjecture. The colonial governments pay us Falconers to protect settlers, and that's where the discussion ends. Duty first, is it? Afraid so. Sunlight seemed saddened by my response, as if she'd been hoping I'd at least hear her out. I shook off her disappointment and focused instead on my investigation. Last but not least, I asked about Weka. When did Weremu arrive into town? A bit over a month ago. Did he say where he came from? No. On that matter, his lips are firmly sealed. Believe me, I've asked him many times. Weka keeps his cards close to his chest. With that, Sunlight finished the last suture in my side, snapped the thread between her teeth, and tied it off. I took a look at the wound, clean and tidy. Without mistake, the work of a trained nurse, or one who has studied a trained nurse very closely. Thank you. You're welcome. And if you leave me that shirt and coat overnight, I'll get them patched up for you as well. Moonlight's lucky to have you, Sunlight. The town or the man? She gave me a quiet smile, then turned away to pack up her needle and thread. Did that mean what I thought it meant? Captain Moonlight and Sunlight? Perhaps I misread their relationship after all. The conversation with the captain would soon sort that out. At least I hoped it would. You look exhausted, Cassie. Something to help you sleep? Yes, thank you. She went around behind the bar and poured a pint of Miner's Dark. She angled the glass, topping the dark brew with just the right head of foam. She had it down to fine art. So that's something that I also know from, like, it's nothing like, for alcohol, I know it only from, like, when you fill up your drink at, like, a McDonald's, let's say. When you get one of those glasses, if you actually hold the cup at an angle, the liquid hits the cup and slides down and doesn't cause all the foaming of the bubbles. So it gets rid of the bubbles right away. Another thing is, if you touch your finger on it, something on your fingers will actually cause the bubbles to just melt away really quickly. That's not something I do. I generally, if I'm going to do that, I just touch it to my lips and it works the same. Because I'd rather not stick my finger into my drink. Another thing that works really well for that is lemons. Lemons, the acidity automatically starts popping the bubbles as it goes. So there's a couple of tips on how to drink soda. Or how to fill a glass of soda at any sort of place you're going. That's generally also how they do beer. You do it that way, and then nearing the end you just bring it down flat, and that would cause the foam on top. I want to say, that would be my guess. She had it down to fine art. My lower back was aching badly, and my eyes felt like sandpaper. Yes, I needed to sleep. Yet still, I watched Sunlight as she tidied up the bar in preparation for the first patrons of the evening. Behind the sunlight, Mary Suncliffe was clearly harboring some shadows. It would seem that she liked Biddy more than she lets on, and the captain much less. Yet there was something inhuman about that. To like and loathe is as human as eating and breathing. Was Sunlight my cedar? I didn't know. But then again, I had no way of knowing until I talked to the others. There's no telling the difference between history and lies until you lie the two down side by side. I drank my pint in silence as the first patrons arrived in for the evening. Sunlight got busy. At the bottom of the glass, it was all I could do to haul myself up the stairs. I left my shirt and coat in the hallway, locked the door, and slumped into bed. I think I was asleep before my head hit the pillow. During my Falconers training, they told me that dreams were the mind's way of making sense of things while you sleep. That night I dreamed of Maggie, the tears running down her face, the silent screams of her corpse, and the sound of mandibles as they worked methodically through her flesh. The next morning I found my shirt and coat neatly folded outside my door, clean and mended. I dressed and made my way downstairs, where I was greeted by the smell of fried bacon. Oh my god, that's an amazing smell to wake up on. Sunlight had breakfast ready and someone was waiting for me. He was sitting at one of the tables shuffling a deck of cards. That would be Weremu. He nodded a good morning and went back to his work, practice of his craft. The cards danced through his fingers like courtiers at royal dance. Kings, queens, princes, and the subjects spinning in pairs and trios, falling to the table as if giddy from their crowing. Yeah, I'm not that great a reader. But anyways, this is where I'm going to have to leave this episode off and continue it at a later date. Just because time restrictions, and I do not want these episodes to be too long, because I have no idea how long the story is. I mean, I already get the feeling I'm maybe, I would say like less than a fifth of the way through this game, would be my guess. I'm not entirely certain on that. But my guess would be, based on how things are going, I have like 4 characters I've had to question. And that's about it. So anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you want to see me play down in the comments below, and I hope you all have an amazing day.